Many of you were on a process over the weekend, this last weekend past. And so much of it was around meditation. And it struck me that a good topic then for this week would be difficulties, the difficulties in meditation. Meditation is a very misunderstood subject, generally speaking. It's not as difficult as people might think, but it's not as easy either, because like anything, it requires some practice. But why should we practice meditation at all? And meditation really is the inward road to self-revelation. It is developing the mind to such an extent that it becomes an inner guiding light and reveals what is within. And when we say what is within, as distinct from something that is outside. So most of today we spent outside. I don't mean in the weather, in an environment of so many degrees Celsius, but I mean the world that is delivered to us from the eyes, the ears, and so on, all the sense organs, the avenues that sit on the outside of the skin. And from there we get an interpretation about our world around us. And from this interpretation, we give a response. But if we practice meditation as we commonly understand it, regularly, faithfully, on a basis of at least 2 or 3 times a day. 2 or 3 times a day, at least morning and evening, we should practice meditation. But then there are moments where at the beginning we can go and make a contact. And what we mean by a contact, it means going into a mode of listening and waiting. Waiting for what? Waiting for a revelation, waiting for a direct experience. In formal meditation, as we sit, there are many questions that will arise. Many typical questions would be, what about the stray thoughts that come into the mind? Even in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is asking this. I see no easy way. I see the mind is vacillating, easily blown like the wind and so on. And when we say the mind, really we're talking about attention. So we have to start with a bold statement up front. What we are looking for is not lost. What we are looking for is already there, is already present. It's present around us, it's present within us. We start our spiritual awakening by seeing that divinity inside everything, including inside ourselves. We do that during meditation. And then in the waking world, in our normal experience, so-called, we see it in every person. We see it in every place. We see it in every event, every scene, every color. In other words, everything that is delivered to the senses. Now, it's not just an imaginary thing. It is really looking, although we may use our imagination in the beginning to imagine it, but it is that inside a person, for example, that enables speech, that allows the eyes to see, the ears to hear, limbs to walk, and the whole body, the whole corpus to operate, to breathe. What we mean by the divine or God is that being that orders the rhythm and total order of the universe, including our own small universe, our domestic environment, our physical environment, we ourselves. And so we have to start off with that understanding that it is so. Even if we may not feel it to be so, even theoretically so, we then have a reason to make an actuality of our connection. It must be remembered that in meditation, our whole attention is to be focused on this inner divinity and also the things of this divinity, which, if you wish, you can call God. It'd be easily understood that meditating is necessary to keep the body comfortable. Because one of the difficulties in meditation may be, okay, stray thoughts, this is one subject, we can deal with this. But then other questions arise, what about, will we get any visions? How much time should we spend in meditation? Is it 5 minutes? Is it 15 minutes? Is it 1 hour? What is the prescribed time? And what is the understanding? Should there be an understanding before we even embark on meditation? Do we have to have any special diet? And should there be a particular posture? But let's deal with the stray thoughts for a moment. There are, we know, 3 broad types of people. In other words, 3 types of people who have an orientation more toward impulsive doing. And that means that meditation is difficult for them if they're pulled between the outside and the internal worlds. Outside pulling them out, internal world pulling them in. So their meditation might go like this. As they sit, they might think of a blue sky, representing an infinite, let's say. Then they might think, next thing is, oh my goodness, I should put blue things in the wash today. I should separate from the whites. And today is a good day for washing. I should do all the washing, hang it all out. You know, what other chance may I get? Because they say it might rain in the afternoon. And I should do that before I do anything. In other words, you have shifted your priority from the most important thing that you are to do, namely to sit and meditate. There would be this difficulty, therefore, between people who feel that meditation is actually doing nothing, a misunderstanding about meditation. And although they may have a will to do it, it ends up as a secondary activity. But is it the most important thing we have to do? Well, those teaching meditation will certainly say, meditation, the art of meditation, cultivating meditation, is the most significant stabilizing thing that you can do for your mind and for your life. Why is that? It's because whatever problems you may have, and many people have problems, most people have problems, whatever it is, surely once you submit it and orientate a different perspective on life that says, my small difficulty is nothing in compared to the infinite invisible that is everywhere. That being that spins all the galaxies, that digests my food, that provides me with breath and life, surely will be a problem solver for me, will supply from my inner psyche all the solutions to any potential difficulties I may have. Surely that would be the sensible way of thinking of it. And once I revise my way of thinking, and once I have the patience to wait and listen to the inner voice of stillness within, which takes patience, then I'll surely solve my own personality difficulty of impulsiveness, impatience. There's that kind of person. Another kind of person will be involved in their emotions. They will also be distracted. Emotions themselves will be a distraction. When they sit down, they may go into a reverie of the past. They may think about relationships, about poor me. And maybe their life will take over, and before they know it, their attention is all distributed to other things. Another type of person will be a person who's living in the mind all the time. That is, they are intellectual orientated people. And so when they sit down, the whole traffic of the mind comes in. All the explorations, all the queries, all the analysis paralysis that comes in, all the delightful rabbit holes and avenues that a person can go down in order to intellectually explore and examine various questions. So we need a remedy for all of those people, because not only should we highlight the difficulties, but we should also give the remedies. Let us take the last kind of person. The last kind of person will have to be able to visually orientate their focus. They would have to disband anything such as discursive prayer, anything along those lines, and they should take one particular subject, either visually or audially, pursue that inwardly until all the 99.9% of their traffic noises gets nicely dealt with. Only one thing, not to explore intellectually, but to encounter a reality. Those people who are orientated toward impulse should sit down in a quiet manner. They should understand that meditation is about receptivity. We start our meditation with an attitude of, I am a recipient. And there's one rule, of course, in meditation: no first person singular and no future tense. We're not there to get anything. We're not there to acquire anything. We're simply there to stand and to attune our attention to the glory of the divine self. That is all. And we cannot do that if we put our own person in it. So these would be some of the difficulties. Let us take posture. Posture can also be a difficulty. What does it mean? Well, we can begin, of course, our meditation with subject. We take up be a distraction if our body itself is distraction. If I stand with arthritis on my left knee, then my meditation will be arthritic left knee. So in order to counter the posture difficulty, sitting there in a steady way, first of all, assuming that we're able to do it, we sit in a posture which is easy, which is comfortable, but which is designed to divert our attention entirely away from the body. Now, maintaining your health, of course, that will remove a difficulty. It will remove the arthritic knee problem, for example. And so we have to make sure that the body is nicely exercised, nicely looked after. We have to re-register it, not as belonging to us, my body. That thing gets changed and transformed into, this is the Lord's housing, the Lord's temple. This is something like an earth car that I use, like any other car. It doesn't belong to me. I'm using it for what? For the greater glory of the divine. I'm using it on my discovery journey. And so, taking for granted that we have taken all the steps in terms of diet and so on and so forth, the one significant thing that upsets all our health will be stress, anxiety, worry. Looking to the future or even the past and saying, oh, this happened today, being obsessed by all the day-to-day activities. We have to learn to take that and put it to one side completely. If we are going outside, let's say to an office or somewhere else, where our work is taking place, we have to be extremely careful that when we return to our domicile, to our place where we can sit down and engage in meditation, that we are not bringing all the clutter of all our activities in to our personal environment. All this means that our central purpose of life is a vision of God, or freedom, or any of these terms will be there, a personal encounter with our own inner reality, the discovery of our own true nature. All of this is centralized as a common purpose. It is the reason why we are born. It is the reason why we are living. It is the reason why we are involved in various circumstances where we can look back and see all the milestones, all the avenues open to us where we could take a non-competitive gap and it was good. It was a good turn of events, guided somehow by a divine helpsman that says, my child, go this way, don't go this way. And if we bother to listen, everything turns out well. So a posture for Oriental people, you might sit on the floor, cross-legged or something like that. But for the Occidental people, probably a chair is more suitable. You're not used to sitting like that. And so the important thing is that the spine is erect, the chest is high. And when we do this, we find the breathing becomes a little slower, a little calmer. And the thoughts race through the mind less and less until, of course, they finally cease. So we attain a position, alert, something that will not allow us to fall asleep. And if we are sitting on a chair with a back support, we make sure that the feet are flat on the ground, or that the ankles are crossed and tucked in under the chair, something like that. Hands on the lap. Often the hands on the lap would be the right hand on the left hand, let us say, with the left hand open, the right hand also open, so the back of the right hand resting on the top of the left. And then we have to make sure that the body is easy and comfortable. And one way of doing this is to specifically be aware of every part of the body with two benefits. One, anything with parts is clearly not me, so I can treat it like a car. A car has so many parts, body has so many parts, and so I can treat it in this way. And then if I find some difficulty or find some distraction in the body, by focusing on that, you see that I am focusing on the divine presence there in that particular part. It's coming out as energy. Even pain, it can be coming out as. And we'll find that it disappears. And so what are we doing? We are taking away one by one all the distractions. First, the bodily distraction. And along with that, preparing for a certain alertness which should be there. We also have to understand that meditation is, of course, as I say, a conscious experience. And the great help to meditation will be to raise up some question. Now, questions in life could be something of a difficulty, a distraction. For example, if something is really bothering us, I sit down, immediately it comes to mind. Well, we can simply take that question and explore it as a spiritual journey. Let us take an example. Supposing I feel overwhelmed at the workplace. I come home exhausted, let us say, and people are being a little troublesome. And somebody now has asked me, please go and meditate. As soon as I meditate, naturally all of this will come in. But if I take that, I might look at it in this way. All dwelling places are the places of the Lord. Even the work environment is such that all the energy I'm using for this activity, all of that is dedicated or can be dedicated. All the activities of the day I can review, and I can offer these and all their effects and all the results up to the true owner of this. For isn't it that divine energy that I'm using, even just to lift a finger and move a hand? Isn't my occupation a divine occupation? Have I not learned that there is no difference between the secular and the sacred? Did I use this work as worship? Did I take every criticism as some opportunity to learn, or even to be humble and engage in the virtue of humility? Could I not take my suffering as an offering? Could I not do every activity as a karma yogi? That means with a certain mindfulness on all my activities, not looking for the results. That is, doing all the activities without any mental stress. Could I not offer this to the divine, whatever went well, whatever didn't? Could I not then say and make a resolve, tomorrow I'll do better, with your energy, simply giving it to the executive officer, the real executive officer of yourself incorporated? That's one example of an understanding. And then if there's a particular troublesome person, we can use all our capacity for imagination. Take that person and understand that actually this divine is in them at the very root. As I say, we start by seeing this divine in everyone and in everything, and then we don't leave it there. That divine energy and grace is flowing through everything and through everybody, enabling life. And then as we come to a conclusion, there is nothing in this world except that divine, and then beyond, in, through, as, and beyond. So are there any real distractions in meditation? No. What we call a distraction is a subject matter which leads us in meditation, where we take a journey. We take the mind on a pilgrim journey, canalizing our thoughts until we reach a point of oneness. So we can use some question, we can use a thought, we can use a specific idea on which we want to be enlightened, or we can take a beautiful scene. If we read the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, we will see there are a variety of things that we can use as a starting point to lead us into the reality of the divine presence. And then we begin with the idea of receiving an unfoldment from the divine. All meditation should be seen in this way, starting off by feeling the divine presence there, and then entering into a wonderful, wonderful, intimate encounter, which results in an unfoldment from the divine. And if we realize that meditation is a conscious activity of our soul, there'll be no danger of us falling asleep, which is another potential difficulty, or even becoming drowsy. 2 or 3 minutes of meditation should be enough to drive away the weariness that one sometimes feels at the end of a strenuous day's work. We cannot go to sleep with a mind open, waiting for instruction. And those who fall asleep during meditation, they fail to make it a conscious experience, thinking that meditation is a blank off. We relax now. It's a relaxation. That kind of attitude And not understanding meditation is a conscious, active process where we steer our attention in a directed way until only one thought in the mind is present. That is meditation. And so misunderstanding meditation becomes a difficulty in it. It is not keeping the mind blank. It is not emptying the mind. It is steering our attention in a beautiful, beautiful way inwards until nearness becomes oneness. Meditation is not just a lazy sitting back. It's not just saying, all right, Lord, you go ahead. I'll catch you up later. It's a quickening alertness, and yet is the peace that passes understanding. So let us be sure that there is that peace. In order to do that, we remove any strain that is there in meditation. We don't try to meditate. We don't force ourselves to meditate. When meditation begins to be something like an effort, we have to stop it. It now becomes a difficulty, a self-created difficulty. If we don't stop it, we'll defeat our own purpose. So it's not necessary to meditate for any specific period of time. There's another question that arises. How long should I meditate for? In the meditation process, another aspect of meditation, or we can view meditation as intense concentration. So, what is the definition of concentration? We can say it is the absence of any sense of time. Time doesn't come into it. It might be for a split second, it might be for a minute, it might be for 2-3 minutes, but the more frequently we meditate, the more we find time has passed. So, practicing this presence within us is this meditation. And as we advance in this meditation, if we permit ourselves to be deprived of our periods of contemplation by the pressure of business or the demands of increasing responsibility, thinking that that is our priority, then we'll miss the way. So once this divine center has been touched, it is possible that outer activities may actually increase. It may be to such an extent that they encroach upon the time which should be devoted to meditation. So too great an indulgence in the things of this world might soon take from us the spiritual gift, eating into our time. And so we have to make sure that we budget some time for meditation. And sometimes this may require us to go to bed a little earlier, get up a little earlier. And sometimes even 5-10 minutes budgeting time is worth it. But one difficulty in meditation is this. If we do not meditate with eyes open during the day, what do I mean by that? I mean, if we're not practicing the divine presence in the day. So many passages are there. Let's take one from the Bhagavad Gita, which tells us, without self-control, we can't get peace of mind. Without peace of mind, we cannot meditate. And meditation is necessary. We cannot discover anything at its core, in its infinite essence, without this meditation. So we have to deal with this, and one cause of people not practicing, who used to practice and we no longer practice, I'm not in the mood. This is a very frequent, common thing I hear. Some of it is, I don't have time, means other things are a priority. And some people just are honest enough to say, I'm not in the mood. That means in the beginning we have to artificially persuade ourselves and create the mood. And when I give the meditation workshop, The Art of Meditation, Game of Guiding Thought, I subtitle it, I give 18 mood creators. So we have to obviously make sure that we have a place for meditation, a specific place. Very often when I ask people, do you have something like a shrine in your home? They say, oh yes, and then I go and visit them, and it's a whole clutter of objects in the kitchen somewhere. And I say, that's fine, you keep it there. Next time, for example, you go and visit India, no doubt your relatives will give you another Ganesha, another Saraswati, and so on, and you're obliged to put it there. But have a special place. Swami Vivekananda, in his first steps to meditation in his Raja Yoga, gives some very good practical suggestions. Tells us, if you can afford it, have a room set aside. Make sure that it is absolutely dedicated to this. Gradually, holiness will arrive in this room, just as it is in a church or a temple, a place of worship, because the very bricks are vibrating with the pure intention, the holiness of prayer and meditation going on there. Don't have any anger in there. Approach it with delight. Keep flowers there or something there. Keep beautiful symbols, something that appeals to you. If it's a family, you make it a family shrine, something that appeals. But make it simple. Make it absolutely simple. We learn much from the simplicity of the Zen Buddhists. Strip away all the bric-a-brac and make sure that things are designed in such a way that the mind easily goes in humility and simplicity without any distractions or complications. Having said that, if you cannot afford a room, then what? A corner of a room will be good enough, and if you even can't do that, then anywhere. So make an environment. This would be one mood creator. Make sure that you have an element of ritual. You can chant, you can read scripture, you can play music. Some people ask me, oh, is it okay to play music? Yes, before you can do it, and after you can do it. Absolutely. Or chanting. Chanting mantras. This is a good way. In fact, when we talk about meditation, we really are talking about prayer, japa, and meditation, a threefold thing. And japa is the attuning the mind in with the company of the divine sound. That is, that sound embodiment of your chosen ideal. Now, of course, there are other types of meditation, apart from theistic meditation. And even then, we require a simple environment. So, other thing is make sure that you are alone. Now, even if there are other people sitting with you, make sure that you understand there are only two entities there in the beginning. It is you and the infinite divine. That's all. And entering into that spirit, you block off any distractions. One of the greatest hindrances to meditation is the fear that we don't have enough understanding with which to begin our practice. And so we really have to understand that we are loved, we have all the capacity to take our attention and tune our attention wherever we like. And sometimes this attention is drawn away from us. We often quote the passage in the 6th chapter on meditation, which tells us, Udaret Atmanatvanam Matvanam Avasadayat. You can raise your mind up, in other words, raise your attention up or lower it. If you raise it up, you're your own best friend. If you lower it, you're your own worst enemy. So when we raise it up deliberately, there's a conscious effort in the beginning. Thereafter, it requires momentum. So in quietness and confidence, we can turn within to let the truth reveal itself, because although the beginning may be a little disciplined, forming a habit, as we enter into the process, we realize it is more a letting go, a waiting for that being to reveal itself. How long should we wait? We wait until the revelation comes. We wait and we wait and we wait. And when we close our eyes and attempt to meditate, we're amazed, of course, to discover a boiler factory inside of us. All sorts of thoughts flash through the minds. Simple things such as, I don't know, did I disconnect the electric iron? Or did I turn on the refrigerator? Or did I put the cat outside? Or many other thoughts, not so simple as these, or unimportant thoughts. They all come in, all demanding attention. Thoughts of fear or doubt. We shouldn't be afraid of these thoughts. We allow them to come, allow them to have their day, and allow them to leave. You see my adage, come if you want, stay if you can, go if you must. These are all from the past. And many of these are fear-based, and they all come from when I was 3, 4, 5 years of age. And they were maybe useful to me in my infancy, but they're no longer useful to me. I have new friends of strength and truth and beauty and goodness and love and harmony. I can put them in. We are like antennas. We're picking up all the broadcasts of the whole world. And of course, if we discard these world thoughts, in a few days or weeks, they will all die for lack of feeding. Only as we accept them as our thoughts do we feed them. We don't own them. We should stand back and observe them. And this technique of observing, this shifting in the awareness, so that we become self-aware entities observing the comings and goings, physical, mental, emotional. Allow them to come, allow them to go. Don't allow these to be difficulties in meditation. And although our object is to attain quietness and receptivity, we should never try to still the human mind. No biggest fallacy could there be to still the mind. It's designed to be active. Never try to stop the thinking, never try to blank out our thoughts. Firstly, it cannot be done. And when we begin to meditate and thoughts of an unruly nature come, we should remember that they are world thoughts, not our thoughts. Let them come. We can sit back and we can watch them and see them impersonally until they all settle down. Once you watch them a little bit, eventually they will stop, and then we'll be at peace. And as often as our thought wanders off in meditation, we gently come back with no impatience to the subject of meditation by taking a dog for a walk, allow it to go off, allow it to do some sniffing, call it back patiently, kindly. We could even address the mind, oh my mind. There are songs like that. Swami Vivekananda, as Naran, would have sung a song to Ramakrishna, oh my mind. Something like a journey. Why do you wander in a foreign land? Why don't you go home? We can address our mind in this way on the basis that I'm not the mind. I'm not associated with the mind directly, only as an observer. And when I wish to use it, that's the only association I have. It is what we call an upadhi, an adapter. It is an adapter is something that restricts the electrical energy. Now there are two ways of thinking of this, and we can look at consciousness studies. The one way is to say that the adapter is the one that manifests everything. It is responsible for its effects. Let's take, for example, the light bulb. The light bulb is responsible for light. We could take this approach. Or we can take the approach, the electrical current with this adapter manifests as light. Now we could look at it in two different ways. We could say that the adapter, the light bulb, for example, is manifesting the energy behind it as light. Or we could also say that it is restricting the electrical energy. We can see that an adapter called the mind and body is in a way preventing the fullness of this flow of divine grace coming through, which we call consciousness. On the other hand, we could see it as a manifesting thing, and the Sanskrit upadi is there, normally interpreted as limiting adjunct. So yes, it seems to be limiting the infinite invisible, but which cannot, of course, be limited by its own nature. But by the same token, on the other side, it is manifesting. There will come a time, of course, as we continue this patient practice, when these extraneous thoughts that are coming to us will not impinge on our consciousness. We will have starved them by neglect. We'll have made ourselves so unreceptive to these thoughts and so on by not fighting them. Resist ye not evil, says Jesus. So we can resist fighting them, because if we do that, they'll return like the plague. If we try to force them, they will return. Don't forget, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. They will return with a vengeance. Repression is not the way. It has no business in meditation. And if we fight them, they will be with us forever. In meditation, we have to be extremely patient. We have to be patient in our endeavor to conquer any sense of unrest. And no truth that we don't already know is going to be given to us from outside. But the light that is presented on that truth from within our own soul makes it applicable to our experience. What is the use of this meditation? What is the benefit of it? What is the benefit of finding and discovering our true immortal self? It is because it affects our waking life favorably. It gives us an essence of calm. It automatically neutralizes our fears and our doubts. And truth that comes from without is just a semblance of the truth. It's the truth revealed within our own consciousness which becomes the light of the world. And it becomes the light of the world to everyone who comes within the range of it. You become like a beaming thing. So, if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me, says the scriptural texts. Meditation will lift us up to the point where we apprehend the word of truth in its inner significance. The rhythm of the universe takes possession of us. We don't move, we do not think, but we feel that we are in tune, continuously tuning in to the glory of the divine self. And so there's more than peace of mind. There's nothing to do. Why do you meditate? Peace of mind. More than that, it's a spiritual peace. And that spiritual peace is the one that passes all understanding. And so in order to enter into this mystical life, which is what it is, we have to master the ability to remain in the silence without thought. This doesn't mean blanking the mind off, as I said before. This is the most difficult part, actually, of spiritual practice. And in no way is this a cessation or repression of thought or an effort toward it. Instead, it is such a deep communion with God that thought stops of its own accord. And in that moment of silence, we begin to understand that this divine mind or cosmic consciousness is an infinite intelligence imbued with love. And it functions. It functions as our being when conscious thinking has been stilled. So in our everyday life, we have one plan in mind, and the cosmic mind has another, or may have another. But we shall never know its plan as long as we are busily engaged in thinking, in scheming, reacting in the various activities and distractions of the world. So to receive the divine grace of the cosmic mind, which we call God, there must be periods when the human mind is in a state of quiescence, attunement, receptivity, all of these things. Be still and know that you are God. This is the adage. So for most of us, the path is, of course, up and down. But by the end of let's say, a year or two, there's usually a feeling that we are a trace ahead of where we were the year before. And we should not be satisfied with anything less than the experience of God itself, or the truth itself, the infinite invisible. Now, there are no real distractions in meditation, as I said, because everything that comes to our mind can be traced back to the source, since whatever is there in the world, in all its manifested variety, is simply traceable back to the source. Every sound is a variation of an original vibration. We can call this Om. And this original vibration is the original thought or movement of cosmic consciousness, or the cosmic mind, or God, the creative God. Every visual thing, every photon that hits our eyeball, every stream of light, and the eye itself is all a vibration of supreme light coming to us. In other words, it is light expressed. Every existence, everything that moves is life or existence expressed. Every joy that we have, every revelation of beauty is a manifested variety of this infinite bliss, this love. God is love. Now, if we have an eye to notice it, we'll see it everywhere. If we have an ear to tune it, we'll hear it everywhere. Every pressure on the skin is it. And that is why when we review all the glories of the divine, let us say in the Bhagavad Gita, there is the various chapters, 7th chapter, 10th chapter, and so on. All these divine glories are given us so that we can take any one of those, pick that up as a point, where we can begin a meditative journey, ending up in such an attunement that we hear the voice of God in the stillness and silence of the within. So I hope we have discussed some of the difficulties, but more than that, the way out of these so-called difficulties, until we learn to let go and have the patience to sit in a state of receptivity, in a state of quiescence, in a state of inward mental journey that takes us to an inward point of divine revelation. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.
Thank you, Swami Ji.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Om